Good afternoon. My name is Chris Hadlam with Youth Pledge for Employers, and I'm delighted to be joined by Tracy, the owner of the Waffle Shack in Felixstowe. Hello there, Tracy.
Oh, hi, Chris.
Thank you for giving up your time this afternoon. I know you're a busy person. I guess my start of a 10 question would have to be, can you tell us about the Waffle Shack and what it is you do?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so it is my business. I am the owner of the business, and it is a waffle shack. It kind of is exactly what it says on the tin. So yeah, we sell waffles, crepes, ice cream, milkshakes, and we've just recently launched toasties, and we do sort of hot drinks, cold drinks, that sort of thing. So yeah, we're actually part of something a little bit bigger, which makes us sort of unique, really, infinite. So we're part of something called Beach Street. So at Beach Street, there are lots of startup businesses. A great way of starting up. If anyone's interested in going into business, it's a really great way because they're converted container units. So yeah, and they're quite small and they're very affordable. There's nothing like business rates, which is obviously can be quite a worry for a business owner. It sort of can double your monthly outgoings. So yeah, it's a great way to start up a business where we are at Beach Street, and it's very much micro businesses, people on their own starting up and then employing staff as they build and get bigger.
Oh, fantastic! That's a lovely succinct summary. I know it's not easy to sort of summarize in a few, few minutes, or whatever, what you do and how you do it. But no, that's really nice, and I love the insight into, let's say, the starting up your own business as well. If I know there's no such thing as a typical day, so I'll make that very clear in advance. I know, but I'm still going to ask you about it anyway. But if you had to talk a little bit about a typical day at the Waffle Shack, can you tell us about just what is involved in a typical day and sort of who is there? So who is there staff wise and the different roles?
Yeah, sure. So as you said, there is no typical day, and especially sort of being an owner of a business, 2 days will always be different, or my week is sort of in two halves as such. So there's the part of looking after and managing the shop and the staff. So when it's winter months at the moment, so we're only open Thursday to Sunday. So on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm responsible for staff. So those sort of typical days are arriving, setting up the shop, turning everything on, making sure everything's ready. Obviously, you're sort of governed by things you need to do, which is under the government's sort of safer for food business. So you have like a checklist of things, and it'll be, to check your temperatures on your fridges, do this, do that. And it's part of keeping your customers safe, but it's checks for you, so everything's working as well. So that would be a start up to the day, get all the tables out, get everything ready to welcome the customers. And we have literally like a checklist. This is what we do. And literally my last thing on my checklist is smile and open the door, because that's what you're going to do. You're going to be faced with, you don't know what. So yeah, a typical day can be, have slow days, busy days, but you can never really tell what each day will be. But a typical day is you are serving customers, drinks, food, talking to customers. A big part of what we do, and how I see it and my role going forward in the future, when I get involved in some other sort of things, is very much it is a community based thing what we're doing. The things that I hear from people, they'll confess their deepest, darkest secrets to you when they come in and have a coffee. So there is definitely, if you like talking to people and you like people, this is the job for you. And really, you shouldn't be in this sort of hospitality sector if you don't like people. Of course, they can annoy you or even upset you at times. It's not always plain sailing, but you, in general, have to like people because it's such a big part of what we do, or how I see it. Obviously, great food and good drinks is also right up at the top of what we do. But yeah, it's about the people for me.
No, that's really interesting. You've actually touched a little bit on the next question I was going to ask, which is, if there is someone, I say, looking to sort of say come work for you specifically, let's say, other than that personable approach, as you said, they need, what other kind of maybe personality traits or qualities, might sort of serve them well to hit the ground running?
For me, probably number one is very much I can do attitude. So, and nothing is ever too much. So even if you don't know anything, I would never, in some ways, actually, to be fair, when people come to me, I don't necessarily want them to have experience. It is more about personality, because I can teach you how to make hot drinks, how to make waffles, how to sort of serve the customers. That's, you know, to learn the till. That's all easy skills to learn. The skills that are not so easy to learn, or maybe you could argue, or even skills that are within somebody or within their personality, is those personable skills. But yeah, very much have a can-do attitude. Even if you don't know something, I always say to my staff, never be scared to ask. You can ask me the same question 15 times a day. I don't mind. Just ask that. And in the environment we're in, it's very fast paced, so it's quite difficult. You know, we have had staff that I've seen they've struggled, not just that I've struggled, but they have struggled because maybe they're slightly more quiet and don't like to ask questions. So, and I love people to ask questions. That, for me, they've got an interest in what we're doing if they're going to ask me questions about how to do something or why we do something. But yeah, nothing should ever be too much. Just a can-do attitude, always willing to do something.
No, that's a really nice takeaway from that. And I'm actually going to sort of flip here from talking about the skills of sort of you need on the hospitality side to actually talking to you as the owner of a business. So,
Yes.
you know, what kind of, you know, when you went into this, are there any kind of skills that you sort of had to pick up? Because obviously as the owner of a business, you're wearing many hats. You're in charge, you know, your marketing, you know, your accounting, you know, your HR. Are there any kind of sort of areas that you had to sort of upskill yourself in, if you see what I mean, when coming into owning your own business?
Yeah, I mean, over the years, I've done lots of different jobs. I mean, that's how we know each other. We used to work together at a hotel, which, you know, they're very much transferable skills because it's all about people. But I've done lots of different jobs. I've worked in hospitals. I've managed a retail shop for 10 years. So all of the sort of different jobs that you do bring something to the table. You know, when I ran the shop, I had to sort of know a bit more than just using the till. I needed to know how to cash up and how to do the banking and all those things. So all those jobs along the way have given new skills. But I sort of think, you know, going back to the can-do attitude, as much as there was a passion within myself to always want to have my own business, I think I've always had that I can do this attitude, and if I don't know how to do that, then I'll find out how to do that. I personally wouldn't say I know everything because it's such a massive learning curve, and it is a bit of a learn on the job type of thing. It's a baptism fire, you might also say. You know, you can prepare yourself, and it's great to do some things. I mean, I used I don't know if I could mention, but I use Mentor, who are brilliant. I mean, it's funded, and I did a couple of start up your own business workshops with them, which were free. They at the time weren't based in Felixstowe, but they have now got a place in Felixstowe. But they also run other things like social media courses and stuff as well. So any access to things like that is free is great. But also going back to what we were talking about before, about being able to talk to people through my job. I've met so many people just by, you know, someone's coming for a coffee and then you talk to them about what they do, and then you're like, oh, actually, that could really complement me. I mean, we run art classes, kids art classes, and now we've launched into adults, and that's all come about from talking to a local artist and her becoming involved in the business, which has been brilliant. It just added another dimension to what I do. But you don't know who your next person you could meet and what contact they may have. You know, you just always got to be open to new things and want to build your skill set from whatever means necessary.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything you said there. And whilst doing this role, I've spoken to a lot of people who set up their own businesses, and you know, you're not the first person to say sort of like, I went and did the free training in that, or I had to Google how to do this, or I looked at this website and stuff.
Love a Google.
Yeah, exactly. And you've also hit the nail on the head that I've come across with these entrepreneurs is that the fact that, as you say, you have to have that can-do attitude. You have to have the willingness to want to learn how to do something and upskill yourself, because and you know, as I say, because you don't have the capacity to, you know, hire accountants, hire marketing people, you know. So as you say, having that can-do attitude is the most important part. And sort of almost going back to that, if we sort of maybe even look at these sort of earlier days of, you know, when you first started sort of owning your own business, what were the bad days like, and what were the good days like?
I mean, I think the bad days looked probably the same as they could look now. You know, you could have a very stressful situation, as you know, as much as I talked about sort of having that love for customers and talking to people, you don't know that it could flip the other way. So there have been sort of incidents where, again, thinking on your feet, but we've had to call the police, for example, because there was an incident with somebody. I mean, that's happened in all my jobs. It's not just this job. Any job I've done, you have things like that happen. But bad days just generally will either be if it's just so crazy busy that you've got no time to go to the loo or have a cup of tea. You're just constant. But at the same point in time, your bad days are your best days, because that's why I'm in business. I'm there to be busy, to have our busiest day ever. And so you've just got to think about your long game. And I think for me, I mean, I do love a bit of admin, but things like a bad day could be, oh, I've got a day off, although as every business owner will tell you, you never have a day off, especially if you're a parent as well. You've got to sort of juggle all of that. But you know, a day off at home can involve a stack of paperwork, which is like, ooh. I mean, I don't mind a bit of admin, but you know, when you've got a month's worth of receipts all sitting there just chucked in your in tray, you're like, oh, I've got to battle that. So for me, that would be a bad day, that I've got to sit in front of a computer and kind of do the admin side of things. But also I think as an owner, going back to people, one of the stresses can be staff. You know, I have had managerial roles before. I've had to manage staff, and it's always a tricky scenario, but more so when it's your own business, because it all, you know, again, like you said earlier, all the hats you wear. But I'm HR, I'm payroll, I'm all those things as well. So sometimes, you know, I haven't had it often, but we've had a couple of incidences where I've had to deal with incidents with staff, and it's had to be escalated and sort of go further. So they're bad days. I don't want to be telling anyone off or in that scenario. So for me, and everyone will be different though. Everyone has their likes and dislikes, don't they?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And in that managerial capacity, actually, if I could sort of almost take it back now to sort of actually, you know, well, let me paint a scenario for you. Let's imagine you get 2 CVs in from 2 young people who want to work at the Waffle Shack.
Yeah.
Let's imagine that they both have exactly the same experience, or maybe the exact same lack of experience.
Yeah.
What kind of maybe things could they put on a CV now? Or what kind of things could they be doing now, if you see what I mean? Whether it's hobbies, interests, that would make you think actually this person would have the transferable skills to work here.
Yeah, I think for me, it's the personable skills. So if you could put on your CV a bit more about what you do in your spare time, maybe, or because for me, if I had 2 people that looked the same, sort of in terms of skills or lack of skills or experience, because as I said, for me, I don't have any problem with that. I'd probably have them both in for a trial shift.
Yep.
And it would simply come down to personality on the day and the way they interact with the other stuff, because it's obviously important as well. You don't want to bring in somebody that's very different, or they can be different, but that's someone that's not going to complement. And of course, everyone's got their own skill set. So when you're looking at your staff, you know, I can think right now of one of my staff. She's my most hardworking member of staff. She's been with me probably nearly for a year. And I'm not saying she's my favourite member of staff at all, but when I think about her, she's not particularly chatty with customers, but for her, she has a role in my business, because she will work and work and work, and she'll cook and make drinks, and then somebody else can do that other part of the role. So she brings something to that role, whereas I've got another girl who is super bubbly, but put her in the kitchen and it's like, oh God. So, you know, those two complement each other. So it's all good. But yeah, I think it would. So in your CV, just think about your extra skills that you bring from outside of just the workplace, or qualifications. Think about other things, and maybe if you think, oh, I don't have anything, maybe think about getting those skills. So accessing some free courses or work experience, you know, offering your time to somebody for free, maybe to give you something that's a little bit extra.
No, fantastic. I think those are some really useful tips, and I think actually a really nice thing to take away from that, look at the examples you gave of the two young girls who work for you, is that, as you say, you don't have to paint on your CV that you are the complete article, where you have the
No,
complete
not at
exact
all.
traits for one thing. As you say, if you're not as chatty, there are still so many ways you can serve the business. And as you say, you
Yes.
might be really chatty, but you might say you can serve the business in different ways. You don't have to paint yourself, as you say, as the complete
No,
hospitality
definitely not.
professional.
Yeah, we're all learning, it's a learning curve for everybody. So any young person has got lots of capacity to learn as much as an older person has. For me personally, I do generally have younger people work for me just because of where we're at with the business, because it's still early days. We're only 2 years in. And I work pretty much most of the time. So we're not at a stage where I staff it and kind of let that run itself.
Yeah.
So I'm not in a position where I can be offering sort of, full-time contracts or anything to people. So unfortunately, that doesn't suit generally older people. They want to have a bit more stability than that. So we are 99% between age 16 to 19. That's except me. Everybody else is sort of in that age bracket.
Talking about sort of between the ages of 16 and 19, and this is my final question really to round this up really, which is, you've sort of summarized sort of your experiences and some of the roles you've had, and my question now would be, is if we could go back and speak to, say, if you could speak to, say, 17-year-old Tracy, based on the experiences you've had, the things you've learned, things you've achieved, mistakes you've made, etc., what would be the one piece of career advice you would give to your younger self?
Never be set in your ways. You don't need to have an answer for what do you want to do when you're older, because it's a learning curve. It's part of life's experiences. So for me, at 17, I definitely probably, I'd say 90% I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I did my A levels because I wasn't really sure what else to do. And then I sort of had various jobs, and then I travelled for a while, and then I did my degree in my late 20s. So there's never one set career path, and you can start off a long way. I mean, at one point I was going to go into teaching after I'd done my degree. So there is you can set off down one career path, but all those skills will be useful for whatever you do. So you don't need to make this oath at 16, 18 and say, right, this is what I want to do. Great if you do, but so many people don't. And it's not a bad thing. Just grab life, do those jobs. Even if they're the most menial job, you'll get them experiences for something for the future.